Great. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of the 21st Century Legacy Lessons. Let's welcome everybody. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Why don't you greet everybody? Say hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
And why don't we greet Dr. Vera? Say hello, Dr.
Hello,
Vera.
Dr. Vera. Hello, Dr.
Yay.
I love you. I love you.
Alyssa. Alyssa.
I love it.
I love you.
Okay,
I love you. I
okay.
love you.
Say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Okay.
We're going to Costco.
Yeah, you're going to go
We're going to Costco. All right.
Okay, welcome everyone. And of course, this part is going to be edited out of the episode. Michael, here you go. Can you take mine, please? Honey, can you shut the door, please? Everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the very first episode of the 21st Century Legacy Letter Show. We are so excited that you're here today. I want to welcome everyone that's here. So why don't you please type your name and tell us where you are hanging out from. I want to welcome Dr. Becky. She says, greetings from Phoenix. Hello, Dr. Becky from Phoenix. Welcome. Good to be with you. Tanisha from humid New Jersey, 93 degrees. Oh, my word. That is pretty.
Almost as much as Florida.
Yeah, that's great. Exactly. Welcome, Vicky in hot Michigan. My goodness, everybody's having a warm summer. Greg in hot Philly. Wow. Awesome. Welcome, Greg. Sonia, greetings from a cool 88 degrees in northern Georgia. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's cool compared to 93 degrees, right? And then Dr. Cynthia, welcome, welcome, welcome. And Linda is hanging out from medium hot Pacific coastal Canada. Welcome, Linda. And then Angie, not quite as hot in southwestern Ontario, but still over 80 degrees. Wow. And Angie from Kitchener, yes. And Deborah, hello from Indiana. Welcome, Deborah. And Dr. Cynthia is hanging out from Adirondack. How do you pronounce that? Adirondackie? From the Adirondacks. Okay. And then Donette from Pembroke Pines, Florida. Welcome to you all. All right. Well, we always like to start our broadcasts with an attitude of gratitude, a posture of gratefulness. So if you don't mind typing in the chat room what you are grateful for. First of all, I am so grateful today that you're all here. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for Dr. Vera. I'm grateful for our children, of course, for my wonderful husband. So I am grateful for all of you and for all of you hanging out and those who are going to be tuning in on the replay. Welcome and hello. And I'm so grateful for you. Now, I want to explain something first before we move on. And that is, this is the green room, okay? We are in the green room. This is going to be edited out of the the main interview that's going to be broadcast through as a podcast and as a video cast. So as an audio podcast and as a video cast. So right now we're in the green room, and during the interview we will not be able to interact with you, but after the interview we can interact live, and that's where we're going to give you some freemium. So please hang out until the end of the interview so that you can pose your questions live, and as much time as we can get to, we'll answer your questions. And also we'll give you the freemiums. Welcome, welcome Carmen from Southern Colorado. And Debbie says it's 90 degrees in San Francisco Bay Area. Beautiful day. Wow, wonderful. 90 degrees and it's beautiful. I love it. Very good. It's probably the humidity. It's not so humid over there. So right now we're in the green room. Dr. Jessica, welcome. Do you have any things to say to our guests right now and what you're grateful for as well?
Oh, definitely. I'm so grateful to you, Jackie. This is like a newbie for me as well to be on this medium. So thank you for inviting me, and I appreciate the opportunity. And I'm very, very grateful for all my friends, family, all the followers. It's awesome to have such support.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to apologize that my computer was having major difficulties this morning. We were having technical issues, so I wasn't able to send Dr. Jessica her link until 3 minutes ago or something. So I apologize. My computer is having some conniptions, but that's because my husband figured it out. It was because there were so many gadgets attached to it that when it was booting up, he explained it to me in tech language, and I didn't really understand. But
You have a techie at home. That's great.
Yeah, he made it to work. It's working now, right? So, Dr. Becky is grateful for God's everlasting faithfulness. Excellent. And Tanisha is grateful for God's everlasting love. Wow. Awesome. Well, I want to just share a little bit about what you can expect in all our episodes here in the 21st Century Legacy Letter Show. Here's what to expect. Number one, you can expect riveting stories. You can expect life lessons. You can expect powerful wisdom keys. What else can you expect? You can expect hard earned life hacks, game changing strategies, and compelling legacy lessons. What else? Well, what are all these going to help you with? Well, it's going to help you, hopefully, if you take action, to unlock doors to business and or career success. And hopefully these keys, strategies, and principles are going to help you in prosperity in your family, your personal and professional relationships. So that's what you can expect from tuning in live and or on the replay or once it's launched into podcasts. Just download the podcasts and hopefully you'll get all of these things that we're talking about. Now I want to do a poll. So we're going to do poll number one right now. Let's see here. Poll number one. Do you personally know anyone who has been through some kind of trauma? So let's start the poll. All right, and please be honest. Your confidential. Your answers are confidential. In other words, I won't know who answered what. Okay. All right, Dr. Jessica, you have any other thoughts about this poll? Do you personally know anyone who has been through some kind of trauma? Do you want to speak to that, Dr. Jessica?
I think I'm probably a poster child. But I do, my day-to-day job is actually working with children and family who find themselves in the midst of trauma, whether it be child abuse or neglect. So I have contact with it every single day of my life, pretty much.
Wow. Wow.
This
Well,
is, 8 out of 10 people.
wow. Incredible. Dr. Jessica, look at the results of the poll. It says 100% personally knows someone who has been through some kind of trauma. 0% said no. So everyone who is live right now, 100% have said yes, they know somebody personally who has gone through some kind of trauma. Thank you so much for answering the questions. And now I want to quote it's one of my favorite quotes. It's by the last of the 5 good emperors, Marcus Aurelius. He said, "What we do now echoes in eternity." So what you're doing now echoes in eternity, right? So
Mhm.
I want to talk about why did I launch this show. I mean, I could be doing so many other things, but why did I want to launch this show? Well, here are some of the reasons why. Probably not comprehensive, but some of the reasons. Stories matter. Your stories matter. Dr. Vera's stories matter. Legacy matters. It matters a lot to me, and I hope it matters a lot to you. Number 3, let's stop stories from getting buried in graveyards. As we record stories, as you take action as far as what we are doing here and recording your own legacy stories, that will make such a difference because, again, as Marcus Aurelius said, what we do now echoes in eternity. What else? Why did I launch this show? Well, I want to preserve legacy stories that will echo in eternity, right? I want to preserve your stories. I want you to preserve your stories, and I want others to preserve their stories. That is my one of my main reasons for launching the Legacy 21st Century Legacy Letter Show. And we also want to inspire, I want to inspire, and I hope that you also want to inspire the younger generations to greatness. Because you and I have paid the price for gaining the life lessons that we are going to be sharing, right? I mean, we probably have decades of life stories and legacy stories that we could share to the younger generations so that perhaps they don't need to experience some of the mistakes that we have made, right? Because wisdom is learning from others' mistakes so that you don't have to go through them yourself, right? And that's why I invest in courses and online coaching, because my coaches have made the mistakes, that way I don't have to, correct? Now, what else? I want to serve you with keys, principle-centered core values, transformational strategies to help you have an abundance, hope-filled, redemptive mindset and life. As you know, if you listen to media, you will lose hope. You're going to get discouraged. You're going to get depressed. So we want to provide an alternative where we want to share with you inspiring stories, redemption stories, stories that will motivate you, stories that will inspire you to action, maybe stories that will even help others. So if you don't mind, in your chat box right now. Below that, there's going to be some icons, one for Facebook, one for Twitter. If you don't mind, please sharing this live launch of the first episode of the 21st Century Legacy Letter Show. If you don't mind taking a few moments, just click on the Facebook icon and let me know. Type yes if you have done it. Just click on the Facebook icon and then it will share this broadcast because I want everybody to meet Dr. Jessica Vera. I want everybody to know the life lessons, the legacy lessons, the stories, and the life hacks that Dr. Vera has to share today. So type in yes after you've shared it on Facebook, and if you have a Twitter account, share that on Twitter as well. And then I'm going to read a little bit more. Okay, Donette, good job. Donette is one of the first ones who did it. Donette, yes, you did it. Great, thank you. Deborah, you don't see it. It's on the lower, it's below the screen. If you're viewing me on the screen, it's probably going to be on the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Vicky Klusterhouse said yes on Facebook. Excellent. And then Bill Fidel said that he has 3 heartbreaking stories from direct friends of his. Wow, there you go. Mary says, thank you for all the encouragement. You're welcome, Mary. Okay, what else? Why did I launch this show? Here's an important part, a very important part. We want to link arms and lock shields in the fight against human trafficking. And as I share with you Dr. Vera's cause, we have the same exact cause to fight against human trafficking. So we want to link arms with you all, and we want to lock shields with you all as we move together in a united front against human trafficking. So I hope that you share some of the reasons why I've launched this show. Sonia, you posted. Excellent. Tanisha did it. Excellent. Carmen shared it on Facebook yesterday. Wonderful. And Mary shared it on Facebook. Great. Dr. Becky did both. Dr. Becky, you're such a go-getter. You shared it both on Facebook and on Twitter. Excellent. Wonderful. Okay. Well, I'm going to do a second poll. Thank you, Deborah. You found it, Deborah. Excellent. I want to do the second poll, and then we're going to start the interview. Okay. Well, I think everybody did it. So I was wondering, not only in sharing today, but in the future, would you be open to recommending my interview with Dr. Jessica to others? In other words, not just sharing after today, but maybe tomorrow after I'm going to send you you'll get the replay link. If you don't mind sharing that as well in the next couple of days. That way more and more people get exposed, because not everybody's going to be on Facebook today, right? Some people are busy, they're at work. So if you don't mind sharing it tomorrow and on Friday, I know I would really appreciate it. I'm sure Dr. Vera would appreciate it very, very, very much. So let's start the poll. Would you be willing to share and recommend my interview with Dr. Jessica Vera? 100% so far saying yes, I would be delighted to do so. Woohoo! Dr. Vera, what do you have to say to that? 100% said they would be delighted. Awesome, awesome, excellent, wonderful. Well, I'm going to thank you, Carmen. Carmen says, of course, I will continue to share. Sonia says, of course. Mary S. says, absolutely. And then Tanisha says, definitely, I will share it tomorrow. Excellent. Dr. Vera, are you just excited about that?
I'm thrilled.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Well, I have one more comment before we begin. Not my hair, but here, when I post in the middle of the interview, I'm gonna do this, and I'm just gonna smile. So don't be shocked, because what we're doing is we're recording this broadcast, and then we're going to edit it. So when I post this and I'm gonna smile, the videographer is gonna cut our ads into the video, and then the final edited version is going to be posted as a podcast and as a video cast. So let us begin. Dr. Vera, Sonia says, Dr. Vera, love your background. There you go. Yay.
Green, right?
Yes, exactly. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to just minimize my screen here, and I want to, let's get started. So we're now going to be in the interview part, okay? So right now, we're not going to be able to interact live because this is going to be the main content, the main interview. So I'm just going to count 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to begin. Dr. Vera, how's your microphone?
Let's see. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you loud and clear. Excellent. Wonderful. Okay. Well, I'm going to make sure that I have everything I have on hand here. All righty. And be sure to stay tuned until the end, because we're going to give you some freemiums at the very end, okay? All right. So I'm going to count down. Dr. Vera, do you mind maybe turning your speakers down just a little bit lower? I think I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I'm going to turn mine down too, please.
Not a problem.
And then let me test yours. Can you speak
How
and
about
just
now?
tell me how you're doing?
How about now?
Perfect. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I'm going to count 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to begin, okay?
And I apologize for the Kleenex. I have a little bit of allergies.
Oh, I hear ya. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, Florida. I remember I used to live in Texas, Dr. Vera, and we used to get a lot of pollen and stuff like that. And I'm used to 80, 90-degree, triple digit weather. So
Yeah.
anyway. All right, everybody. Sonia says, Dr. Vera. Oh, yeah, I read that. Okay. So everyone, we're going to count down 3, 2, 1, and it's going to be the main interview portion, and then we'll interact with you live again in the Q&A. Okay. So take notes as I interview Dr. Jessica Vera. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Jackie Morey. I'm a multiple #1 best-selling author, founder of Customer Strategy Academy, and the host of the 21st Century Legacy Letters Show. Welcome, everybody. Today, as we launch this first episode of the 21st Century Legacy Letters Show, I am truly honored to have Dr. Jessica Vera as my featured guest. I met Dr. Jessica through an online course we were doing together with at least 100 other people. And for graduation, everyone in the course, well, as many as could, presented their media pitch. So when I found out that Dr. Jessica is very involved in the fight against human trafficking, I knew I wanted to feature her on this show because we share the same cause and I resonated with her topic of influence. I, along with my husband Jim, have been and are committed to investing our time and financial resources to the organizations who are on the front lines of rescuing and helping victims caught in human trafficking, as well as helping them to get healed and set free from the horrific trauma they've gone through, providing safe houses for them and training them to enter into a wholesome occupation. Now, this show and some of the proceeds from anyone who invests in the products and services offered in the legacy store of JackieMorey.com will go directly into helping organizations involved in the fight against human trafficking, such as the Genesis Project, Seattle Against Slavery, Slavery No More, and several others. Now, before I tell you about Dr. Jessica, here's what you can expect in this interview. Interwoven among Dr. Jessica's stories, you'll discover how she launched 3, not just 1, not just 2, but 3 multi-million-dollar businesses. You'll also find out how to avoid at least one mistake that Dr. Jessica made in a specific area of her life. And you'll also learn some best-kept secrets about Dr. Jessica, about how Dr. Jessica is now living a life of significance and leaving her legendary legacy. Okay, allow me to tell you about my featured guest. By her mid-20s, Dr. Jessica Vera had founded 3 multi-million-dollar corporations, was named Latin Female Entrepreneur of the Year, had spoken on international platforms, and served on numerous prestigious boards. But underlying that massive success was an equally massive battle from within, one deeply rooted in childhood trauma. Now, despite the success and the accolades, there was only one voice she heard, and it was the whisper from deep within saying, "You're not good enough." Her journey from trauma to outward success to inner healing and to real sustainable success serves as a real life platform for the work that Dr. Jessica does today. A renowned forensic expert in human sciences, Dr. J, as she is known to friends, has invested the last 3 decades to positively influencing the lives of tens of thousands of individuals, families, prominent organizations, and communities. Now, whereas Dr. J of NBA fame was dubbed the King of the Dunk, Dr. J Vera is known as the Queen of Rebound. I love that. Dr. Jessica is launching her new book in August 2016, From Trauma to Triumph. This new book, Rise Up, not only tells her story of finding freedom from trauma, it outlines her 3R freedom process to help others find freedom as well. It will guide the reader through their inner mind field. I love that, quote unquote, inner mind field to renewal and transformation. Today, Dr. J is a highly respected professional in her field, but unlike the success of her 20s, it is not tempered by the trauma of the past. It is only strengthened by it. I'd like to welcome to the 21st Century Legacy Letters show, the initial launch, the first episode, my friend, Dr. Jessica Vera. How are you, Dr. Jessica?
Hi, Jackie. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. It's good to be with you today.
And
Well,
congratulations on this inaugural show.
yay! Exactly. Well, Dr. Jessica, who would you like to dedicate this legacy show to?
Well, Jackie, my heart's desire is to dedicate this show to all who have overcome trauma, but also to those who continue to be in the grips of the chains that bind from trauma, and unfortunately for those who are being victimized today in human trafficking. It's a horrific social injustice, and its prevalence is growing. So I really want to dedicate this to them.
Wow, excellent. Indeed so. Well, Dr. Jessica, take a minute and fill in some of the gaps that the intro and share just a glimpse into your personal life, please.
Sure. Well, I've been married for the last 20 years, happily married, and I have two daughters who truly are part of the motivation for my legacy. As you mentioned, I've done quite a bit in the last 5 decades of my life, and the first two were probably the most high-speed development. I truly didn't think that I was going to live too much into my age that I am now, based on what I had lived before. But God had different plans, totally different plans. And so part of my legacy today is definitely to leave my story for my children, for their children, so that definitely they don't repeat the mistakes that I've made, but also that they realize that those mistakes, as we call them in life, are actually, setbacks that are setups for your future. So that's a little bit more about me.
Indeed. I love that. Setbacks that are setups for the future. Well, Dr. Jessica, let's dive in. What are three parenting life? Well, would you take a couple of minutes to share a story, maybe a young adult story, an encounter, a turning point or milestone that impacted your life and or your character?
Sure. In my early 20s, when those multi-million-dollar companies were hatched, so to speak, my story was atypical. Most people will say, that businesses require a lot of strategic planning and a lot of preparation. And I'll tell you that at that age, basically what happened was a life-altering event. My mother, who was a single parent, became incapacitated. And I found myself in a position where I knew that my part-time paychecks were just not going to cut it. And God just illuminated the path. And He just opened every single door absolutely necessary to be able to reap the fruits of His abundance. Because, yes, I'm a hard worker. And yes, I knew how to take advantage of the opportunities that were open for me. Because I'm not going to say that you don't have to work for it. But I truly believe it was ordained by God. I saw the need for a service that was in significant need for culturally disabled individuals who were in the indemnity field. And my heart was just to fill the gap with culturally sensitive individuals who could do consulting and case management. And so there flourished 3 multi-million-dollar companies, not your typical, I had this great strategic, magical $1 million idea. It was my back against the wall and knowing that I needed to do something different. Didn't have a personal relationship with Christ at the time, and yet, God provided. He provided, and I knew His presence. So that was a definite turning point in my life, because I realized that, opportunities are planted in all of us. And it's a matter of where do you find yourself and whether or not you take full advantage of them. And so when I deal with so many youths today and I see such a lack of hope and a lack of direction, I remember and I reflect on when I was their age, and I think to myself, how is that possible? They have so much more opportunity today. So I would tell you that was a huge turning point for my life. My life took a totally different trajectory. We were, like I said, within a single family home with one parent who worked very, very hard to keep us all afloat. And then all of a sudden, within 12 months, we were multimillionaires with quite a lot of resource. And at the time, I tell you, I was in my 20s. So there was no way to truly know how to manage that well. And yet God found in me the abilities, truly.
Wow. Dr. Jessica, can you share a little bit about what were those multi-million-dollar companies, if you don't mind, please?
No, they were in the indemnity field. I grew up in Canada, actually, for those of you who are here from Canada. So if you have lived in Canada, I lived there for the first 30 years of my life. And I was training in psychology and rehabilitation counseling at the time. And we were in the indemnity field, and there was a tremendous gap in service to the ethnic minorities. And the culture in Canada is a little different. It's not like the U.S. where it's much more of a melting pot. In Canada, it's much more segmented by culture. So there's a cultural identity that can be maintained in Canada, but it's unlike here a little bit. So there was a lot of minority communities that were not being educated on their rights, and they were impaired and disabled by auto accidents, and finding themselves in a good old boy system that didn't really serve them. And so I felt that they were not being advocated for, and I started in the community that I'm from, which is the Spanish community. I didn't speak a word of Spanish at the time. And then from there, it just blossomed. It was one community after the other, and just started hiring a lot of like-minded consultants and specialists in my area, and it just blossomed from there. And I was trained in many areas of specialty, including vocational and forensics, as I still work in now. But at that time, it was predominantly disability management and vocational rehabilitation. So I worked with the broken even then, and physically broken and emotionally broken, and helped them on their course to recovery, and utilize the indemnification system to propel them and help them do that.
Impressive. Thank you very much, Dr. Vera. That is just so inspiring how you found a huge gap and you met it, and it snowballed from there. Wonderful. Well, Dr. Jessica, I wanted to find out if you would please share at least maybe 3 parenting life lessons or guiding topics, so that, and then share some stories with those life lessons as well, please.
Certainly. I would tell you the number one lesson that I've learned through the wisdom gained through trauma is the importance of the early developmental years of your child's life. Most of us, used to have the mentality that children were born with, the blank slate, and then they absorbed everything from the outside. And then there was a shift, a paradigm shift into believing that, no, actually, we're born with every neuron being, activated, and we start losing after 3 years of age. Well, from a trauma perspective, we now know through some very substantial longitudinal research that was just published, well, not just in 1998, but is actually now just being implemented through the Department of the Center for Disease Control, that those first 4-5 years of life have become instrumental indicators of later life morbidity. So I would tell you that as a parent, it became so important to me to make sure that my daughters had the most normal and fruitful early development as possible. I exposed them, obviously, to as much, external social sensitivity that I could, but also, there's truth to be told, and that you have to meet your child at every developmental stage. So in those early years, you need to be able to meet them where they're at. And that is something that was not taught. It's not in the parenting handbook, and it was definitely not a parenting skill that was passed to me. But I know now, and knew then when I first had my children, because my daughters are almost 20, that it's significantly important. So the early developmental stage is where, your child is developing their personality, and it's also where we now know that the greatest impact of childhood adverse experiences can have in terms of long-term morbidity. The second is, as your kids come into adolescence, I can't stress enough about the fact that you need to be an intentional parent. And with today's technological advances and, the virtual worlds that they live in, it becomes so much more important for all of us to become educated. I mean, we do not have to be, tech gurus, but we definitely have to be educated about the technology and the platforms that our children are on. And we need to be able to be vigilant and to supervise them, because it's my daughter is 14 years old, and she was born into the generation of technology. So unlike, my 20-year-old who kind of grew up in it, Miranda only knows technology. So I need to be where she's at, and I needed to learn those platforms. And, there's very specific reasons for that I emphasize it so much. It's because we now know that is also where the enemy has a foothold in our children, because what can be used for good is also can be used for, unfortunately, evil purposes. And that's how our kids are being groomed, and they're being tracked into sex trafficking. So, meeting your child where they're at, being able to be, just like you would take them to the playground, today you need to be in that cyber world with them. And then, as a young adult, as they're starting to formulate their self-concept and trying to find their place in the world, I think that there used to be the misnomer that you couldn't be your child's friend, because you became their friend, you lost your parental boundaries. And I think that there is a happy medium. You need to be the parent, but you also need to be the friend, because otherwise how will they come and to trust you and to be able to speak to you about the kinds of things that you want them to now, today especially, be able to open up to you about, the desires of their heart, their romantic interests, and so forth. So I would tell you those are the three most significant for me.
Oh my goodness, Dr. Jessica, I was writing down so fast.
Sorry.
So I'm going to show again our audience what I gained from the three parenting lessons, which are huge. Number one, meet our children where they are at. We have expectations. I have certain expectations, but our son, our daughter, but I need to meet them where they are at. My son is only 6, our daughter's only 4, so I need to meet them. They're not yet 18 and 16, so I need to meet them where they're at. Number two, you and I need to be intentional as a parent. We need to be vigilant, especially with all the platforms out there, social media, the virtual media, the online space. We need to be vigilant. And number three, yes, we need to parent them, but we also need to be their trusted friend. Is that right, Dr. Jessica?
Absolutely. You captured that beautifully.
Wonderful. Well, my next question is, well, there were some questions that came in, but before that, I want to ask you first, would you share 1 to 2 business career stories that could help not only international business entrepreneurs like yourself, but others in whatever career path they're on, please?
Definitely. I would tell you the number one lesson that I have learned in entrepreneurship is to be clear in your understanding of what your calling is. Everyone has a very significant, unique calling in God's economy. And, in this high chatter society that we now live in on the web and the virtual marketplace, it's really difficult to maintain your identity and not to lose sight of what God has instilled in you to really, proliferate in the world. And sometimes it isn't necessarily what you personally might think you want to do, but God lays something on your heart that that is from Him, and that you need to be able to then commit and to put feet to that plan in your life that He has drawn since for the day you were born. So I would tell you that's number one, to keep your core and your creator connected and be very clear about your significance and how you're going to impact your community. And the second is that in any business, if you think that you can do it alone, that will be your downfall. If you think that you know it all, that will be your downfall. The greatest business minds that I've ever had the privilege of working with have always, spoken into me the same message, and that is that business success is a collaborative effort. You need to surround yourself with like-minded people. You need to recognize what your strengths are and build from there, and then allow the areas that you're not so strong in to be delegated and to be collaborated with others who are gifted in those areas. So business for me definitely is, from a social context, it's a collaborative, a collaborative effort towards success. It's nothing that you can achieve on your own.
Indeed. I wrote them down. So, for everybody, if you're taking notes, number one, be clear in your unique calling. Stay connected to your creator, as Dr. Jessica has told us that has worked so well in her life. And number two, you can't do it alone because we don't know everything. You don't
Yep.
know everything. I don't know everything. So I put hashtag collaborate. I really love that word collaborate. I did a word for the day regarding that word collaborate. So thank you for those two powerful career business lessons, Dr. Jessica. Now, some questions came in. And folks, if you got the invitation to register, there was a survey. And so it really pays to fill out the survey. So there were a couple of questions that came in, and I wanted to ask those two of you during this portion and this segment of the show, if you don't mind, Dr. Jessica.
Not at all.
Okay. The first question, somebody said, I believe there are important stumbling blocks that every person must overcome to achieve their legacy, most of which are created in oneself. I would like Dr. Jessica Vera's opinion on how she overcame her own fear and self doubt to reach her successes.
I think that the question is perfect in that there are definitely stumbling blocks and they're different for each person. So I'll speak to what my stumbling blocks were and how I overcame my own. For me, coming from the childhood history that I did, my greatest defense mechanism was the determination to be the best that I could be, to the point that I took so much pride in what I was able to accomplish as a young person, and I lost sight of the humility in the success. And I would tell you that was a tremendous stumbling block, because when you're your own best hero, there's nowhere to go from there. So learning the lesson of humility and recognizing that there's actually power in that was a tremendous lesson for me. The second, in terms of my personal experience, was trying to understand where the negative voice in my head came from. We all have the inner, the enemy, the inner me that will try to sabotage and to undermine our motives, especially when we're on course. When we're divinely on course, that's when we're attacked even more so. I would tell you that the way that I was able to learn was that the self-talk that was internal, I would combat it with external positive affirmation. My entire trajectory, my entire professional trajectory has always been to find the strengths in character, not only in myself, but in others, and to just affirm them and to propel them forward, because the best weapon is it's a counter weapon. So if it's a negative inner voice that's telling you something about yourself, then you need to train yourself to affirm the positive of that for yourself every single day. That's how I was able to, and I continue to use that strategy throughout my life today.
Powerful. Dr. Jessica, there was a second question that I wanted to include in this segment. There's a woman, and she says, how does a woman in ministry balance and maintain humility when she is called to a greater level than her husband?
That's a perfect question for me. And the reason is, if you get a chance to read my book, you'll find that my life story has a lot of the worldly mistakes. I was married multiple times. I have a divine threesome today of 20 years, but it wasn't so in my younger years. And I can tell you from personal experience that when you're a strong, and when I say strong, I mean a character, you have the character strengths that God's instilled in you, and you have purpose and you have direction, you need to be yoked with an individual that not only shares your mindset, but who complement each other and propel each other forward. What happens when you're not in that type of relationship is that one person will be lagging behind, and then the other person will become frustrated and resentful because they don't have that partnership that they need in order to be successful in life. And the third component is not there. So I had to learn that the hard way after two, prior failed marriages with lovely men who probably would have been wonderful husbands had I allowed them. But because I was so hell-bent on what I thought I was supposed to be accomplishing in business at the time, it was extremely difficult to value the other person because they just fell short. I wasn't in ministry or even was aligned with my relationship with God at that time. So I just want to be really clear about that because I was still struggling in the world. Today, however, the character strengths haven't changed, and my determination and my resilience for entrepreneurship and the things that I do, I'm 150% in. The difference is, even though my husband comes from a completely different mindset, I have learned that threesome, how do you maintain the ministry balance and your calling as a woman to be subservient to your husband, but also be a leader in the community and leader in your home while he's the head of the family, that can be accomplished because of the third rope in your marriage, and that is God. If God is not the third, you don't have that threesome, the marriage will not survive. That I can tell you because I've been through two that did not. And now I've been in one for the last 20 years, but the only way that it has is because God is in the middle. So anytime that I get too big for my britches, so to speak, God pulls out the rug and shows me, nah, no, you're not as good as you think you are. And then you become extremely appreciative for your partner because your partner is that warrior that you need in those moments.
My goodness, that there's just so much wealth in what Dr. Jessica just shared. So if you missed that, just go back and get the replay. And let's just well, let's take a few moments to thank our sponsors. Okay, we're back. Now, we are going to ask Dr. Jessica several things now. It's going to really get faster now. So I want to share right now, I want Dr. Jessica to share right now a redemptive story. Dr. Jessica, I've experienced some redemptive stories in my own life. Would you kindly share one redemptive story either in your personal or professional life, please?
I'll share one of myself really quick, and I would tell you, I just wrote my first debut book. It's a story that was in my heart for the last 50 years. I never thought it would be the story of myself personally. I thought it was going to be totally different. And the redemption is that even after these number of years since the experience of trauma, the journey of writing it brought so much more growth and so much more renewal through the process. And it was definitely ordained by God because I wrote the book in 6 weeks. So you just don't do that if you know anything about writing. And so I knew that it was from Him. So the redemption of God is evident to me in every single day and in every single thing that I do. I work with a lot of children, as I mentioned, but my heart breaks when I see youths who do not have any hope and do not have an outlook that is in the least bit positive. And when we're able to plant seeds, because in the environment that I work, which is federal, you cannot speak about religion. I cannot share my faith, but somehow, some way, I always find a way to plant seeds. And I worked with one particular young man who had been in the system and who had been diagnosed with every pathology under the sun, and he was basically being thrown away because he was in the criminal system and doing a lot of delinquency and what have you, and he aged out. And I stayed in touch with him, and my husband and I kept planting and kept planting and kept planting because we just didn't feel that we could give up on this child. And today, with the glory of God, those seeds, not because of us, because he moved away, but we found out recently, actually, that same young man that everyone was throwing in the towel and saying that he wasn't going to do anything in his life is now a youth pastor working in Tennessee in the church. And he contacted us a few weeks ago just to let us know that he knew he had broken our heart. He knew he thought he had destroyed our faith in him. But he called because he just wanted to let us know that, those little seeds that we planted took root and now they're flourishing. So that is awesome for me. That's just the power of redemption. that I get to see over and over and over again.
Oh my goodness. That is such an inspiring and beautiful story from where he was at and now to becoming a youth pastor. That is a wonderful story of redemption, folks. So it happens every day, every single time. And so we just don't know where our seeds are going to, how they're going to end up. And what Dr. Jessica planted, now she's seeing the fruit and the bloom that has happened. Right, Dr. Jessica?
Absolutely. I would tell you, plant. Do not ever plant, and don't be discouraged if you don't see the fruit, because that is a blessing in and of itself. But just plant. Keep planting.
Indeed. Dr. Jessica, do you have a picture of your children somewhere close by that you
I
can share
do,
with
but
us?
these are my babies. But these are my babies when they were little.
Oh my goodness. Look at them. Oh my, they were
Wait,
little then
try
because
to see some reflection. Wait, wrong way. How about
there
there?
you go. That's very wow.
Yeah.
And what are their names?
My daughter, the youngest is Miranda, and she's about to be 14. So I'm getting all geared up to meet her where she's at. And the eldest is almost 20.
Wow, and that's Samantha.
That's Samantha, sorry. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Dr. Jessica, decades from today, let's say many, many, many decades from today, you're on your deathbed and you have 5 more minutes with your children, maybe some relatives, grandchildren, colleagues, friends gathered around your bed. What final words would you say to them and advice on how they can leave a legendary legacy?
I gave that some thought a little bit. Thanks for the up on that one. I would tell you that my number one wish would be that at the end of my days, I would be able to tell them that I pursued love, and that my love of people would be, the legacy would be left in them. And the things that I create within that realm, whether it be books, whether it be services, whether it be anything and everything that I could possibly be ordained to create to impact my community, that they would leave an imprint in others' lives. And I would want them to understand the value of that, because in essence, everything else is fleeting other than what you can leave as an inheritance spiritually for these kids and for your loved ones. So, if you're chasing money, it will go. If you're chasing material things, they will go. At the end of my day, I want to know that I lived life the way I was intended to, and that there's preservation through either stories that I've written down or, people that I've touched in my life, and I would tell them to pursue it through love.
Indeed. Wow. Now we're up to the legacy sprint segment of our show. And I'm going to ask Dr. Vera one question after another, and Dr. Vera has 15 seconds or less to answer them. So, Dr. Vera, what is one reason that people fail getting close to their kids as they grow up?
They do not understand where they're at.
Indeed. What is one action you take daily that brings you to your present business and career goals?
I fill up every single day in the Word.
Indeed. What are your top 1 to 2 favorite books?
Okay, the number one bestseller in the world, which is the Bible, which is what I emulate. And then number 2, I would tell you, recently I picked up Ask.
Wow. What is the names, the author's name again, please?
Uh, now you're going to kill me because I can remember the names.
That's fine.
Les Levesque, I think, or something Levesque.
Oh, Ryan Levesque.
Ryan Levesque. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I'm sorry, Ryan.
Okay, great. I have Jim and I have that book. What is your favorite dish?
Oh, seco. That's a Peruvian dish, which is rice and green cilantro.
Yummy. What is your I know you have several, but what is one of your favorite vacation spots?
Oh, we just had the privilege of going, and that's Hawaii. We were just in Hawaii.
Hawaii, I love that. That's where we had our honeymoon. 3 favorite hobbies or leisure activities, Dr. Jessica.
Oh my goodness. reading is definitely number one. Journaling when I can do it now, and just having girl time. Definitely my favorite time.
Awesome. Well, now, Dr. Jessica, thank you so much. It's time to promote you. And what would you like to promote? What can our audience take away? How can they connect with you? How can they get in touch with you?
Well, if you resonate with anything that I've shared, I would be tremendously honored if you would just go to drjvera.com and join our launch team. We're about, as Jackie mentioned, we're about to release Rise Up on August 8th, and we're looking for warriors who want to get behind the cause, because all of the proceeds from this book are going to victims of human trafficking. So I'm just trying to get the proliferation of this book out. It offers quite a bit of information from the last 30 years that I've been able to gain, not just practically through my own experience, but clinically as well, and spiritually. So I think it offers a great deal, and I hope that the readers feel that way as well. But apart from that, what's closest to my heart is to save 1,000 women and children by the end of 2017 from this book. So I need it to move.
Wonderful. Folks, please log on to www.drjvera, that's drjvera.com, to be a part of the Rise Up launch team, as well as to download a free chapter. And we're going to post that in the webpage as well. So, Dr. Vera, thank you so much for being my guest. I want to share a legacy quotation to everyone that's watching or listening. And this is from Jim Rohn. He says, "Take time to gather up the past so that you will be able to draw from your experience and invest them in the future." And that's what I hope to do, is to help you to invest in your future, to take your life experiences, your life lessons, and to put them in such a way that the next generations can benefit from them and send it on to the future. Thank you so much for joining us for the 21st Century Legacy Letters Show. Dr. Jessica Vera, you have the final word.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much, Jackie. And congratulations on this launch. I know that this show is going to impact and influence the community in a miraculous way. So, I just want to thank you again for inviting me, and thank you everyone for joining us, and God bless everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us. And we hope that you join us again on the next episode of the 21st Century Legacy Letters Show. All right. Well, that's a cut. That's a wrap. Dr. Jessica, how are you doing?
Good.
Cool. Well, now we are going to ask Dr. Jessica some questions. Do you have just a few more moments, Dr. Jessica?
Sure.
Okay, because now we're in the Q&A time, and I'm going to pop up the freemiums for those who have stayed on with us. Now it's time to pop up the freemiums. Go download the. Let's see here. I want to first offer Dr. Jessica's toolkit. So, all right, here we go. I'm going to display the offer. So there you go. If you go to, it'll show up on your chat right now. Get a free chapter in Dr. Jessica Vera's new book, Rise Up, and download your free chapter. And when you click that orange button, it's going to go directly to drjvera.com. So please be a part of Dr. Vera's launch team. Get your free chapter and share it with others. I mean, really, purchase the book for those that 100% of those of you who have attended today have said that somebody who's experienced some kind of trauma. Wouldn't it be wonderful to share Dr. Vera's book and help them to overcome and successfully overcome trauma the same way that Dr. Jessica did? All right. Dr. Jessica, you want to say something about your book?
Apart from the free chapter that you'll receive by clicking there, you'll have access to the team's private page, which accesses all types of instruments, assessment tools that were, they're empirically created, but also I created a few assessment tools that I feel will be very beneficial for anyone who's still in the midst of the trauma and who needs the additional assistance to find their path to healing. I don't profess necessarily that you need to do, thousands of years of psychotherapy in order to overcome and have breakthroughs. I believe that we have the healing power within us as well. And so therefore I did my best to provide a very extensive toolkit that goes along with the book, as well as a mini 4-series video course that's completely free for the members that walks them through how to do that 3-step freedom guide.
Wow, powerful. Everyone, I encourage you to please maybe share drjvera.com with the friends that you know that might have experienced trauma. And that way we can all help each other and sow more things that will help transform lives. And Dr. Vera, I'm just so excited about your book. And I want to take just a few moments to also pop up another offer. And I want to share our number one best-selling book as well with those who are attending live. So right now, download your copy. It's a free copy of your 21st Century Business Card. It's a book that Jim and I wrote, Jim, my husband, and I wrote. And it's reached number one on Amazon in 7 categories. So please download that now. It'll open up in a separate tab so you can still be part of this broadcast, because we're going to ask questions now of Dr. Vera. Okay, here's a quote by Jim Rohn again. Asking is the beginning of receiving. Make sure you don't go to the ocean with a teaspoon. At least take a bucket so the kids won't laugh at you. That's by Jim Rohn. So, Dr. Jessica, I just want to take a moment to ask a few questions. And if you want, folks, you can type in your questions, and as many as Dr. Jessica can get to, we shall answer them. But in the meantime, some of you have filled out the survey. So here are some questions, Dr. Jessica. Marianne wants to know, I want to invest more financially and spiritually in my children's lives and in the kingdom. How can I do that?
I would tell you that one of the unique ways that you can invest in your children is teaching them the value of money, because the money story that we were taught in my generation versus the money story that the kids are being taught today, I'm sure you've all heard we're in the generation of entitlement. We grew up with less, and so we overcompensate with our own kids, and they're growing up thinking that things are easy. I would tell you to invest in training them to not only how to develop a skill that they might have so that they could create their own little makeshift small business and start earning and learning how to manage that, because we are entering an era where, with the virtual marketplace, there is no age for entrepreneurship. And I think the earlier we can instill the value of money and how to manage it according to God's economy, the better off the next generation is going to be. So I will tell you to invest there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Jessica. Here's another question from Michael. Putting an inspiring message across in the most relatable way. How do I do that, please?
Authentically and transparently. Because if it's just about a quote that someone said, but there is no personal relatableness to it, then it doesn't resonate with individuals. Again, we're in a world of a million messages, and unfortunately, not all of them are the best. So the more authentic and transparent you can be and integrate your own personal experience in that, I think that is much more inspirational to others. People want to see the journey. They want to see the person who came from rags to riches, or from, not an ideal situation, and who were able to beat the odds. So the more authentic you can be about your story, I think the more impact you will have.
Definitely. Here's a question that you're not yet at this age, Dr. Jessica, but perhaps you've met people who are at this age and you can maybe speak into this question. Mary asks, I'm returning to an empty nest structure after 2.5 years of adult children at home. How can you help Mary to deal with this situation the best way, please?
Sorry. So she's returning to a home that was previously an empty nest?
Her adult children were living at home for 2.5 years, and now she's back to an empty nest structure, she and her husband.
Right. Okay. I actually know this very well. I have older siblings, and this has happened to them. So, my advice to them was to reflect and to go back to where they left off their personal life story, because when we have children, we become, second and third on the wheel of priority, and our priorities, get set back. And so I often say, go back to where you were when your children became of age and left home, and what were the desires of your heart at that point. And then, recapture that passion, and just start to develop, your next season, because life is all about seasons. And the fact that you're now an empty nester is a blessing. And it's all a matter of how you perceive it, right? So you need to perceive it as a blessing, and you need to look at what were you not able to do because you were in a season of parenting, and then you were in a season of cohabitating with adult children. And now you're back in a season of independence. And so what can this season now hold for you? What does God want you to do at this time?
That is phenomenal. Thank you. One final question, Dr. Jessica. Janet asks, how do I break into conference speaking and minister as a woman? My intention is to fill stadiums ministering on the kingdom of God.
I would tell you to forge forward. Women, men, both are charged with discipleship. I understand that, if you look at the Old Testament, the Old Law, it said that men were supposed to predicate the word. And yes, there's still the mentality that men are the head of the church. But the Bible, truly teaches that amongst those that were in Jesus' inner circle were many women. And they were his oracles. They were speaking on his behalf, and they were predicating. So I would tell you to not go with the masses and the mentality of the masses, but go with your heart and what God's instilled in that. And if it is to be, his messenger and to deliver the message of discipleship to other women and to the community at large, I would tell you that there's nothing that should prevent you from doing that. And there's now quite a number of female, I'll call them, I don't call them pastors because I understand. So let's call them oracles, Beth Moore. And there's lots of them now that are speaking and recognizing that they also have a voice.
I love that. Oracles. That's so powerful. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this live launch of the 21st Century Legacy Letters Show. And I would love for you to keep tuning in weekly and follow me on Facebook. And I'm going to create an event. Friend me on Facebook if you'd like. You can find me at Jackie. Well, just type in Jackie Morey and do a search, and you'll find me. You kind of recognize my face by now. And also follow Dr. Jessica. Dr. Jessica is also on Facebook, and please join Dr. Jessica Vera's Rise Up launch team. Dr. Jessica, thank you so much. And do you have any final parting words for everyone, please?
I would just tell you, keep striving forward, find your significance, stay in positive mental capacity, because that will propel you forward. And thank you so, so much, Jackie, for this opportunity. I really, really appreciate it. You made this whole entire process super peaceful and tranquil, that knowing that I'm so not techie.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jessica. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed today's launch and today's first episode of the 21st Century Legacy Letters Show. And I look forward to serving you more soon. And let's support each other. Let's support Dr. Jessica Vera's launch. And I would love to find out if you want anyone else to be a special guest on my show. So you know how to connect with me. Just go to my webpage, jackiemorey.com, and you can connect with me that way. Thank you so much, everyone. Look forward to being with you again soon. Thanks for everyone who participated in the chat room as well. Thanks, Dr. Jessica. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Nice being with you as well.
Thank you. Blessings to you. Goodbye.
As well.